those three words, not I love you, just buy Bitcoin. Um,
Or have fun staying poor.
that's
Sponsored by Bitcoin Lessons. Get your friendly advice and understand the future of money through Bitcoin Lessons.
That's a great voiceover. I think that's definitely going to make the reel. Okay, here it is, the 4Bs, the world's most bullish podcast. Myself, Sir Never Look, Dr. Evil 10%. In great time, the cat appears. And it is just the two of us as well. As always, Miss No Show is nowhere to be seen, but unfortunately, we've got Mr. All In away from the pod. But don't worry, we're here. We're going to hold the fort, and we're going to go through this week's agenda. So, shout out once again to Stevan. Thanks, Stevan, for your comments immediately on YouTube. Keep fighting the good fight, and when the merch comes out, you'll be the first to get it. Anybody else out there that's got any ideas, or if they want to present us with some drawings for what the actual logo should look like, feel
very
free.
Crude stickmen.
Yeah, the crudest of crude stickmen. We love that for sure.
I'll draw it on my left hand, try and win some competition.
Oh, mate, for real. And any comments as well, or any as well. I'd love to.
Your sound's gone.
Oh,
your sound's back then. I don't know, because you picked up your microphone before.
Yeah, am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, you sound loud. So they just missed your impromptu speech. So I think I'll just kick this one off. This is the podcast, which is probably be labeled misinformation, because when Gaz, Mr. All-In, listens to it, he's going to be like, what the fuck were you two talking about? How wrong have you got it? But luckily, we got some topics which he's helped arrange for us to keep us in order. But it doesn't mean we'll be able to get everything right.
100%. Yeah, I think everything that you hear tonight, this is not factual or financial advice. It's just for entertainment purposes.
We got one piece of factual advice by Bitcoin.
That's the only piece of factual advice that you need to take away, I think. Just by Bitcoin. If you learn nothing else, in fact, you might as well just quit the pod right now. Just buy Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. It's what we're going to lead to pretty much on every single story.
Yeah, it's natural, isn't it? Those three words, not I love you, just buy Bitcoin.
Or have fun staying poor.
That's my favorite. I don't know if I told you, actually, I was looking on the DVLA website just for those four letters and to see if I could get away, maybe HF5P. Someone's already got it there. And the other month as well, someone bought the license plate Bitcoin and they paid £20,000 for it as well.
So is that just BTC on there?
No, it was a BIT and then it was 6OIN or 1N.
You could probably get something like BTC and then at what price you bought in. So BTC, what was it, 18 or something?
Well, all the BTCs are mega high. You need to inquire to get a BTC in your license plate.
I think I'm just going to spray paint HFSP on my car when it goes to millions.
Yeah.
I'm going to attach a megaphone on it.
Yeah. You could buy a tank to then run over that car.
But then it'd be the problem of, like, would you actually want to spend that money on the tank?
Hey, when hyper-Bitcoinization happens, it won't mean a thing, will it?
But I just feel like I've got into this real toxic mindset of not wanting to spend money on anything. It's got quite extreme. But then again, I did buy some things for cycling the other day. Bought some new tyres for the winter. And I thought I could have done without the tyres, but I actually spent something. So that's fairly impressive for me.
Good. Well, we're in a bull market, they say. Even though myself, so never looks. I'm aware that we're on a rise right now, and we're close to new all-time highs. Right?
I'm just going to have a quick look.
Go for it.
Because I do look. I've been looking at my ledger a lot. So we're at £41,000. So
Okay.
good price. What was the all-time high? Was it about 43 or something?
Somewhere along those lines.
Oh no, 47.
47.
47,240 on Coinbase. So a bit of a way to go, because I think I've seen us around about high 42s. But it seems to be that we've shaken off some of that ill feeling about China, boiling the oceans, Elon, and God knows what else we've had in there.
Hey, just to think though, only a few weeks ago we were down at 30. So what, 3 weeks ago we were down at like 30k. Now to be up at 41, 42, it's going in the right direction.
Well, I was going to say, do you think you made a mistake by not buying more at 30 when we had the dip, even when it was closer to 20 as well?
I went all in. I didn't even DCA. So everything that I had spare, I went in, and I was just like, there you go, have it. And it swallowed it up. And yeah, I'm happy that I did.
I think I did my last all in was when it was sitting somewhere about 42. And I just went, oh God, that's painful. But then I just don't think it'll matter in the long term. But admittedly, if I bought a couple of months later, I could have got it low 20s. So I could have bought almost double the amount. But
yeah,
it is what it is.
I mean, we don't talk about shit coins on here, but I do remember and recall looking at ETH and how low it was at a time at like the 200s, 300s. And I also thought, I should have bought or got into that as along with Bitcoin as well, I must admit, and caveat, along with Bitcoin. And yeah, I just went all Bitcoin, thankfully, but at the same time, decent gains.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's one of those ones, if you've got what's not so much commitment, but belief, because like Ethereum, it's flawed. It's not decentralized.
Yeah,
it's been hacked. It's inflationary, but they've fixed it to make it deflationary. I look at it and just think, I don't want to get involved in that. You're pretty much paying, and you're dealing with fiat there. There's some central bodies messing around with your money.
Yeah.
And also the fees.
I think his name is, pronounced Vijay Boyapati, who wrote the article Bullish Case for Bitcoin. He also has an idea, when I watched an interview with him, to say the bullish case for the death of Ethereum as well. So like literally slating it as to why not to buy it and all the flaws.
I just feel like you're moving into crypto for something better than fiat.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, well, how many coins are there in Ethereum? There's an amount, but it's inflationary. So that's not better than fiat. That's what fiat is. Is it decentralized? No, because when it was hacked, they could make a change. It was also vulnerable. So, I don't understand the advantage of it. No. And that's what I look at. People are throwing money into various crypto when there's no clear advantage of what actually it is. And that's the whole point about Bitcoin. How many coins? 21 million. Will there be more than 21 million? No. Is it centralized? No. So it's scarce. It can't be controlled. And then do you have to store your money in a bank? No. And I just look at those fundamental facts and think that is your perfect money.
Yeah.
So why fuck around with some shitcoin?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I couldn't even tell you, if you had a gun to my head, how many coins there are for Ethereum right now, or like going to be in all time. So, quick, and with any other coin, to be fair, trying to measure that first principle of, okay, if I was going to go down this line, what's going to make it scarce? And I can't even tell you.
It's the whole thing about, you think about things which are valuable in the past. So you've got baseball cards. What makes a baseball card expensive, scarcity. And then what made gold expensive and hold its value? Scarcity, hard to find, hard to mine. And it kind of applies to many different things. So you could even go to football. What makes a good football? Scarce. They can score a lot. They can do other things which other footballs can't. They've got massive social media following. Those are the kind of things which you look for, which brings a value in a footballer. And in a way, it makes them unique in their game. And you could apply this on houses. You could put it on people in jobs, even sales. So work in your profession, what makes someone the most scarce? So it's someone who brings in big deals all the time, can find value, can understand the value of a product and convey that to a customer to help them understand the ROI, which is what everyone thinks they can do, but it's someone who can consistently do that and have that kind of record, kind of like a footballer in a way, scoring the goals. And I think you apply this to everything. What makes something good? It's not that everyone else can do it or everything else can do it. It's that very limited amounts of these people or objects can do whatever it is.
Yeah, 100%.
Plus the scarcity.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Man United, so I'm not afraid for us to lose any fans or pod listeners that are Man United fans. But you just look at Cristiano Ronaldo when he scored the other week in I think it was like the 95th minute. There was no one else that was going to score the winner. He was the one, and he did that because it's what he does, and he's done it consistently time and time again. And it's those habits that he's made over the course of time, and that's what sets him apart to being one of the greatest.
Exactly. It's those talents, those goals, and also the fact that he's created himself into a complete and utter icon.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what he looks like. Everyone knows what his values are. Anyway, we're going about Cristiano Ronaldo. We're going to an area which I'm not comfortable in. So let's go on to the topic. So the first one.
Yeah.
Coming back home to the UK. So politicians want a pay rise from 80,000 to 100,000. So I think it's quite an old MP. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Came out this week and said that they should be paid in line with doctors. So my kind of interpretation of this is, well, you're getting paid 80 grand. It's a good wage. It's not massive, admittedly. And we did touch upon this last week where I think Gaz said you should be paying politicians, well, the needed ones, a lot of money, hundreds of thousands, millions to keep them honest and actually make them. And so they don't need to look for these backhanders. They don't need to look for these investments. They don't need to get laws through to get their friends money, to get themselves money. And they don't need to favour some people to get a job after they finish working as an MP or a politician. They can just make their money whilst they're a politician in the number one job.
Let's not forget fiddling their expenses as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is it. And so we want a 25% pay rise. And you kind of go, 25%. What's happened in the last year?
No, we've printed around about.
Yeah, we had initial amounts. I think it's 14%. We're printing more, plus all the previous years. So you kind of go, I know where he's got that figure from. It's inflation. And everyone's like, oh, but there's a £20 universal credit reduction.
Yeah.
But that was only ever short term.
Poor.
It was only said
really bad.
And I think that as a, I don't know the figures for someone who receives universal credit, but their kind of income, £20 a week times by 50, what's that? It's £1,000. So I'm guessing that's probably about, put that over a year. I don't know what the total will be, like 10,000, 15,000 in that kind of package, 20,000. Somewhere
around there.
So it's a decent size reduction. So somewhere around about 5% maybe reduction. The £20 doesn't sound a lot, and I think that's why they're running with that figure. But it was only meant to be temporary, albeit inflation really has just messed people up in the fact that more money's needed. But politicians saying we need more money though, and we should be getting paid like doctors. I kind of get Gaz's thoughts on this, because if you can have politicians, you want them to remain honest and not take all these backhanders. And we're in this absolute mess at the moment where they're getting paid fairly well, relatively well, but they still can't retire on that wage. We've still got to go out and we've got to invest, or we've got to take their favours, as we want to call it, in order to get to that hallowed place of being able to retire without having to burn all your favourite books to keep yourself warm.
Absolutely. I mean, £82,000 per year is a fantastic wage in the current, living society, given the fact that the average wage is approximately £28,000.
It's just past 30, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
That was on that article, but it might be wrong because I've seen it quoted as various different things.
Yeah, I think, of course, if you're living in London, the average wage is going to be higher than the rest of the UK. But if we say, round about between 28 to 30K, they're getting somewhere near to 3 times the average national wage. Now, granted, and to your point, no one is necessarily going to retire immediately off £82,000 in today's current climate because of inflation. Once upon a time, that you may be able to have lived a real nice and cushy lifestyle from it. But the reason why they want to obviously get paid more is because of inflation. Things are costing more. They, time has moved on, and it's just not enough. Now, to do that and then cut the universal credit wage is really bad as well, though, because you're voting these people in to ideally give you more money, and you're not getting it. And it comes from a very communist perspective, doesn't it, of like social living?
Yeah, I think we're stuck in a bit of a loop around that, because I think there's different trains of thought that we are creating a system by providing all these handouts, but I think it's literally impossible not to give the handouts when we got such a flawed monetary system as well. So I think at some point they are going to have to sort this out, because they can't sustain it. Things like the pension, by the time we get to pension age, I struggle to believe that we'll get any kind of payout.
I saw an article just today where it said somewhere along the lines of you'll need an extra £2,200 per month per person to in order to like live. And I was thinking, wow, that's a whole wage, essentially, a whole nother wage.
So £4,000, £2,200 per person, £4,400 put over a year. That is over 50,000. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
It seems a bit ridiculously high, but then again, I suppose with inflation, that'll only cover the bare necessities. So you put that into perspective, they're expecting you to save. If you retire when you're 67 or whatever it is, and you live till you're 85 or whatever the average age is, so bordering on 20 years, you're going to need a nest egg of approaching £1 million.
Well, yeah.
So you've got to save over. So you've got to save over your 40 to 50 year career when your average wage is around about 30,000, £1 million.
Yep.
I kind of do wonder, because I'm saving my socks off. I'm not on average wage, but I feel like I'll struggle to get towards that figure.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Well, you don't have to pray because it's coming, but hyper Bitcoinization is on its way, and woohoo, happy days.
I think it. We said at the start that we're probably going to be a bit of an advertising brand for Bitcoin today. Without Gaz keeping us in check.
Sponsored by.
Yeah. Sponsored by Bitcoin Lessons. Get your friendly advice and understand the future of money through Bitcoin Lessons.
That's a great voiceover. I think that's definitely going to make the reel.
I do think it's a really hard thing. And I think when you do look into it, you think £20, it's nothing, don't you? You put it over a year, times by 52, because it's weekly, is my understanding, the universal credit, £1,000.
Yeah.
And that is absolute massive. That can be eating some proper food as well, to put it into the poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
But then I do look at the politicians, and I think we're just in this really twisted monetary system where we keep on printing money and deflating everyone's wage, and we can't work out what everyone should be paid. So you're saying, oh, this, bloody plumber, he's charging me X amount more per day, but his meat's costing more, his groceries are costing more, his water, his gas, electricity, all his bills have gone up. So his charges have to go up, and it applies to everyone else. And so personally, I can't blame anyone for this. I think both sides have got a point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people are not going on holiday and they're staying here in the UK. And the UK already was, fairly high in terms of living costs. Because if you go abroad, people like my barbers, they're Kurdish, and so they go back to Kurdistan and they can live like kings for a month without paying anything, and then they come back here and they say, you don't half forget, one, how good it is in the UK, but two, how expensive it is equally in the UK as well. So it's a real catch-22.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah. So as it said on the Metro there, the average UK salary has increased, and it is £31,500, 31,461.
Which probably doesn't go anywhere for even a single person now. Never mind someone who's got a family.
And
to save £1 million, I'm just like, oof.
Yeah,
that ain't happening.
and one topic that you and I can probably both speak on quite confidently without Mr. All In is childcare fees as well. So should you want to have a single person in the household being the breadwinner on that type of wage, so that the other person can then look after the child or the children, then that's fair enough. But should both of you going to work to then pay for the nursery and everything else,
and it does kind of destroys the family unit as well.
Yeah.
And that's one thing which I've really come to realize over the last year is like, we're kind of working so much, we're forgetting. And like, I do think there's a lot of value in someone not working, bringing up kids.
Yeah,
and that's
massively.
That's my opinion on this, and I think we're absolutely killing it. And I think more kids with attention deficit disorder, more kids with behavioural problems, and I think it says it all. I wouldn't actually point the finger at anyone about this. So I think it's a whole system's creating it. But we're going on a bit of a moral. Well, I'm certainly going on a bit of a moral preach now. So I think it might be time to move on to the next one.
Cool. Okay.
Which is a very strange story. I don't really understand this one. Why on earth they're doing it? And it's not in the UK yet, but in the US, they want to monitor, or rather get a report from your bank on every payment over $600. Currently, it's set on $10,000. So for a bit of background, that was set, I want to say about the 1980s, and it was based upon money laundering. So it's the money laundering regulations which were brought in, 10,000, which was kind of seen as a significant sum. It would be looked into, and they'd look into things like SARS, which is serious activity report. If they thought you were suspicious, so why have you just brought in 12 grand? What's it from? Oh, it's a car sale. Have you got the advert? Things like that. But there's no explanation. It could be drug dealing, robbery, fencing, anything which could be bringing money into the bank, which will look sound, which could be taken from ill-gotten gains. You can tell we work in the industry. So, what's your take on this?
So, for me on this one, I just think it's another little bit of a Big Brother moment where the US wants to try and get a stranglehold on the people and understand what's actually going on. But I just think that it's not feasible to really be able to, you've got a population of 323 million, I think it is, in the US, and you want to monitor $600 transactions. And then who's going to do that? Like, how are you going to do that? And
wouldn't it be a whole like digital infrastructure? So it'd be automated, but obviously there's a big cost in changing that.
yeah,
So you'd have to set up systems in order to forward details on that transaction. So Darnell goes to DFS, he buys a sofa for £800, bang, it gets fired over to Fed. Is this transaction dodgy? Does Darnell need to pay more tax? It just seems ludicrous, doesn't it? Because you kind of think, you want a computer, how much is that? 1, 2 or something like that. You want a sofa, you want a nice kitchen table. It all fits into this category. It just seems insane.
Yeah. Well, the real thing is, and I think you hit the nail on the head there, is it's ultimately always comes back to tax, doesn't it? They want to be able to collect on tax that they're not currently taxing people on. And if you monitor those smaller transactions, then perhaps, because let's be honest, there's not that many people, I suspect, the average person making many $10,000 plus transactions on a daily basis. The majority of Americans, and I think the stat was like 50%, don't necessarily have any savings over $1,000. So where are they going to be making these $10,000 purchases? So straight away, your numbers at half. So why don't they just come out with something that is slightly more poignant and pointed at where they're actually trying to get to? So those that are a lot richer, or, again, as always, squeezing out the middle class.
I mean, that's probably what it'll hit. I just think it's only one explanation, which is control. So we've seen a few states have said that they'll fight it. I haven't looked to see whether they're Democrat or Republican. I expect they're Republican because they're not putting up with this communist shit. But then the article, it was Daily Mail, wasn't it? It went into all this tripe about some analyst who was born in Russia. And it was basically pushing it towards like, this is some kind of like, oh yeah, Russia, USSR did things right by not discriminating between men and women, the gender pay gap. And it's just like, are we referring to Russia and the USSR as a good example? And then it starts talking about National Investment Authority for Affordable Housing. Sounds very communist. So basically what you moving towards then is we put price caps. So it's price fixing, price controls, which we know through the last about 500 years that price controls do not work when you try and fight inflation, which is fundamentally what this is. There are numerous different examples. I think most recent, which I've read about, were a series of them in the 1970s when currency started to hyperinflate due to coming off the gold standard.
Yeah.
So, you just have to look at history and just think it's really, really odd and and it's not going to fight the millionaires or billionaires who aren't paying their tax.
It's not going anywhere, and it is going to be here to stay. And I think maybe they won't get the $600 like shelling, but maybe it'll be 5,000, and then it'll slowly come down. But similarly, as I mentioned the other day in our group, how the ability to tap £100 is now the new norm as of Friday. So slowly but surely we'll be getting to this happy medium. But really it's that ability to control and understand what people are doing. You could easily take the money out and then obviously do it and deal with it in cash. Again, if you, of course, are changing that at the bank, then you're going to be scrutinized as to why do you need that money and what's that money for. But
it's just none of your damn business.
yeah, it's none of your damn business. That's why I do like those challenger banks like a Monzo, where you are able to take out up to £1,000 in a single day, because that again was one of those stipulations with your bank, that if you went to the cash machine, I think you were only able to take out some 250, others 400. I know with my bank, I'm allowed to take up to 1,000.
I don't know what my limit is with Revolut. So HSBC, it's not loads, but I never obviously carry much cash with me.
Yeah,
so I think
exactly.
It's like 250.
Yeah,
I think Revolut is I think 400.
Yeah, I just know when I needed to pay tradesmen, and it was over the 250 mark, that I needed to do it in multiple transactions to be able to just physically get the money out, although it physically could get out of the account quite easily.
Well, this is what Bitcoin fixes it.
Well, I was just about to wait for it. I was going to say, who wants to say it? There's a theme here, isn't there? It's behind you.
All these controls are ultimately designed for more tax. I mean, the government's out of control on their spending, and we've known this for many years, but somehow we accept it, and they just want to tax us more and more, so they can spend money on silly schemes.
I don't think the average person knows that the government's out of control with its spending, though. That's the weird thing. Like, you sometimes forget that, yes, we have this podcast every week, and we've also been quite astute prior to putting the 4Bs in place. But I don't know if the average person is actually thinking, wow, we just printed £3.5 trillion, or
what do you think about
$3.5 trillion?
Think of a local government one, which we've all seen in the UK. Roads are shit. Come around February, roadworks everywhere in February and March because they're spending the last of their budget. And the fact is, because they're going to the wire, they're paying overinflated prices rather than actually measuring through the year and repairing roads when they should do. And this is a kind of overspending, which you kind of go, if you actually plan these roads in a strategic manner, so working out when one's been renewed and so on, so you actually maintain them when you should, you wouldn't overspend. But the fact is that we'll throw money, then we have various agencies, we use consultancies, we throw money at them, £1,000 a day per head, which is the whole kind of question is, well, aren't we employing these politicians in order to come up with these strategies, but then they're paying KPMG and Deloitte and Serco and whoever else in order to do it instead?
Yeah.
So, they'll spend as much money. Literally, it's, if we raised our tax to 98%, they'd spend it all and more.
Yeah, and request more for the following year because you managed to somehow find the money this year. So I'm sure you'll find some more next year.
Yeah, I just think taxes. I think it goes down with kind of Bitcoiners' mindset of don't want to pay tax.
Yeah.
So wait for the country to appear who's going to minimise tax and not bother us with silly government mandates all the time.
Yeah, or become self-sovereign and find or buy your own citadel. So once you're in the citadel, they don't need to pay you anything.
But it's where do you buy it?
Yeah.
In order to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll wait and see because I'm hoping things change.
I'm sure there's an island out there with your name on it, Dr. Evil 10%. It would go with the persona.
Yeah, I just
have a rocket.
I'd have a big castle.
Yeah.
Nice dark castle on like a raining island. That would be perfect for me, wouldn't it? I'd need some kind of bridge. Yeah, I'd need some kind of bridge to get onto mainland to go cycling.
Yeah.
But I could fit a good gym in that castle, so I'd be fairly happy.
Yeah, there you go. Any suggestions from any listeners of what this bridge and this castle should look like for Dr. Evil 10%, yeah, leave a comment below.
Very evil. Okay, so
cool. Next topic is if Janet Yellen is that the $1 trillion coin. Okay, so there's rumors that the reason why the US aren't necessarily too fussed about their deficit is because at any moment they could just pull out their trump card, pun intended, $1 trillion platinum coin, and it would all just go away. Are you familiar with the $1 trillion coin?
I just think it's the most ridiculous thing ever, because somehow by minting it, so melting a bloody coin, therefore they can print more money.
Yeah.
And I just kind of go, how is this a thing? How is this an achievement? But we've got to $1 trillion because of so many years of inflation, because literally $1 billion was unheard of in the 70s, wasn't it? And now billionaire, commonplace, whereas we're moving towards $1 trillion companies and we're waiting for the first trillionaire.
Yeah. Well, I think we are only about a week away from the US hitting its designated time slot as to when the deficit needs to be paid, based on the Democrats saying that, you know, it cannot go above this level. And so it'll be interesting to understand what they do. You know, whilst we can debate all evening, my friend, about you know, the actual price, it does not matter. They will find a rescue somehow. They will not default. This isn't like Greece defaulting.
I wish it would. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I'd love it, as Kevin Keegan would say. Yeah.
The whole thing about $1 trillion coin, it's just so ridiculous. And I just don't think anyone realizes how ridiculous it is. And once again, this is where Bitcoin sorts out, because no government overspending. You get what you're given. And we haven't got this silly shit about inflation and devaluing everyone's savings, which is what we're currently in the middle of. But somehow everyone thinks that it's fine because it's been happening for 50 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so this whole mining or minting of this new coin, which is a platinum eagle on a $1 trillion coin, could just be done in a matter of minutes. So that could therefore then be deposited with the Fed Bank, and then all of a sudden they would wash their hands off the debt. But naturally, I think they would, yes, whilst it would pay things off, slowly but surely, I think that the debt would creep back up, and probably creep back up and be larger than what the debt is right now as well.
Yeah, so having a quick look, it looks like there's 40 trillion in circulation. And yeah, I don't quite know if you count things like investments and derivatives in there, because that's saying 1.3 quadrillion. But that's world. So I'm just trying to understand what is 1 trillion of the United States currency is what I'm struggling to understand.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's almost a bit like a drug addict. You know, they've had their hit, they love it because it gives them freedom, and it just keeps on getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And we're to that point where it's getting absolute fucking ridiculous. Like, this is horse tranquilizer shit going on. And it does just seem like a matter of time till the dollar will collapse, but it's just got such a stranglehold of things like petrol that that's the reason why it's surviving so well at the moment. But there's got to be a point when it's going to fall apart.
Yeah. And I do think in our lifetimes we will see that, because we've got this perfect storm of the continuation of printing. You've got Bitcoin, you've got the halving coming, and then as well, it's just the the divide as well, the divide between the rich and the poor just continuing to get bigger and bigger. And I don't think that it can continue to survive. And then naturally as well, every 10 years or so, and it's strange, but it does happen, that there will be something, some external thing that no one can predict, some black swan type of event, whether it's 9/11, whether it's another war, whether it's COVID-19, there will be something that shakes everything up and then just puts it all into disrepair.
Yeah, wait to see what that is.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's the next halving.
I'd love it. I would love the next halving to be sooner.
I told you, you didn't listen. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. And no, you cannot stay in my castle on my island.
Have fun staying poor. You retard.
Oh, we seem to be on a bit of a US run at the moment. We had one. So we seem to be a bit of on a US run at the moment. We've had one UK story to start off with. We've had now 3 in a row US. So the third one, US uniting 30 countries to fight ransom attacks. So it's an article of, I think Gaz has labelled it as a great firewall of the West in reference to what China has. So allowing information in which they deem appropriate. So stopping things like Google because it allows Chinese citizens to see all sorts which they don't want them to see. I'm guessing certain social media isn't allowed in China, so it's probably their own. Because I don't know whether Facebook and Twitter are allowed. Twitter probably isn't, because Twitter is just all kinds of opinions going on.
Yeah, that's definitely not allowed there.
So it's kind of like the initial aim is to stop these ransom attacks. So I think the phrasing was our cooperation in combating cybercrime, improving law enforcement collaboration, stemming the illicit use of cryptocurrency, and engaging on these issues diplomatically. I mean, they do this anyway. You know, countries share intel around all this cybercrime. And the article cited the pipeline stuff, which I think we discussed many weeks ago, where they asked for $1 million. And we're just like, this is 1960.
You've got to do that again. Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, is this 1960 or something? They're stopping a pipeline. And I don't think it's $1 million. I think it's like 5 million or something, which is fuck all. You know, when we're talking about billions and trillions now.
Yeah.
And, you know, it cited that as an example. It's like, that's no example. The person left the requested Bitcoin in a link to a wallet off the server which they were using. It's just like, come on, someone who can hack anything is not going to just leave the password lying around on a notepad file on a server which they hacked into. It was just,
I mean, the fact that it's being led by Joe Biden and that he's even able to string a sentence together for more than 5 minutes without a teleprompter and also a nap in between, it just says it all, doesn't it, really?
Are we sure that you talked about ransom attacks and not something else?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Joe
it
Biden.
Is this kind of it's this kind of communism stuff which we've been talking about. Some of the stuff which America's doing is very strange at the moment, and it seems to be led by Biden or whoever is backing him.
Yeah, I mean, in the article, which again is all in the show notes, you know, here we are, podcast number 26, and you know the drill by now. If you're half a year. If you've been following, welcome. If you're new, welcome. But all of these articles are in these show notes, and so essentially there has been an increase in the ransomware threat to organizations, and obviously some of the recent attacks on the Colonial Pipeline, which is the oil pipeline, companies like JBS Foods and Kaseya as well, basically just showing the vulnerabilities in terms of being able to be attacked and essentially put them under threat to not be able to operate as well. So naturally, crypto has crept in, because how do you make that that threat? You then tell them to wire you crypto, which can, yes, be traced because it's all logged on the blockchain at the time, but ultimately these companies are just playing catch up to cybercrime, right?
I just feel it's a woolly story. They are actually trying to put something in place.
Yeah.
I kind of do it. I know Gaz is a complete and utter conspiracy theorist, but I think he may be onto something here about the Great Firewall of the West to restrict what you look at, which wouldn't necessarily always be a bad thing, but I do worry about what kind of freedoms they'd actually restrict.
And you know what, actually, whilst we're talking about this and our conspiracy theories, and I'm surprised nobody's put it down, but I'm sure we would have covered it had Mr. All-In been here, is the Facebook outage. So it happened.
Didn't we talk about that last week?
No, I don't think we did. No, because I think it happened.
Talked about it.
Yeah, I think it happened on the Monday. But yeah, it might have.
We
did.
It's in the show notes.
Yeah, it's in the show notes. It's in the show notes.
I can't remember what we talked about it, but no doubt it's some conspiracy theory.
Yeah, you're right. It's in the show notes. It's there. But then they had another one, didn't they? But this time it was just on Instagram. Once again, I think it was on the Friday or even the Saturday.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So once again there was an outage, and perhaps later on down the line we might find that it was some sort of a ransomware attack. Now that would be interesting.
It's all a bit fishy. I think we talked about Facebook quite in depth last week.
Yeah.
But what are they, $1 trillion company now?
Yeah.
And apparently if someone makes a change, it takes down all their backup servers as well, which have the originals, and they can't roll back within 1 minute. So yeah, it just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
We haven't heard the true story of that one.
No, definitely not.
This kind of ransom attack and potential to bring 30 countries together does say something about maybe there's going to be some kind of firewall or restriction. So, would that be something which would be aimed towards cryptocurrency? Is the kind of question which springs to mind. I think there are a lot of people say there are generally good uses on that, such as restriction on things like child pornography, and I suppose various things like Silk Road. But I kind of then do go, well, they got things like Tor. How are you going to restrict Tor? And then if you manage to restrict Tor, how are you going to restrict the thing which goes after that? Because people will find a way. They want to buy whatever from Silk Road or whatever site it is now.
Yep, 100%.
So I'm not quite sure how we say that Bitcoin fixes this. I suppose it's a freedom to move into places.
Yeah, I don't know how Bitcoin fixes that in all reality, but in some way, shape, or form, just buy. Just buy. Buy.
Talking about buying, George Soros buys.
Yeah. Now, if you don't know who George Soros is, if you're a new listener to the show, he is kind of like a mascot of the show. I don't know how long he'll be with us or how long we'll be there. That would be a sweepstake, won't it? Do we get cancelled before George Soros dies? So he's 91.
Depends how many more souls he eats.
Yeah, exactly. A 91-year-old Hungarian-born Hungarian-American-born George Soros. Pulled up his Wikipedia, and it's just amazing to see the background on this guy. We won't go into it in too much detail, but essentially the Soros Fund now confirms the billionaire investor's family office is trading in Bitcoin. Woohoo, maybe.
I feel when Gaz does edit this, we need some Imperial March music over the top of that.
Yeah. Sure. Guys, that's one of your jobs, mate. So the fund managers will have now crossed the line. So what it means is that these hedge funds, and when I mean these hedge funds, people like Ray Dalio, Peter Drucker, Peter Drucker. Sorry, Peter Drucker. Who else is out there that is now come on? I mean, we talked about Mr. Wonderful as well previously. That's flipped from being in gold to now being more leveraged in Bitcoin. Slowly but surely, the apex predator, which is Bitcoin, is taking over all asset classes and will essentially
is this a hedge, or is this his classic of 10% in everything?
You
know, as we talked about in the pod the other week, we talked about BlackRock and Vanguard having 10% in every single pie. Is this what, you know, he's involved in all that? So is he looking at 10% of Bitcoin? So 2.1 million coins times by, what is it, $50,000 at the moment. So what's that? I can't even work that out off the top of my head.
I was going to say, I'm going to need a calculator. You know, those, I saw a great meme while we're doing this. Remember back in the day when you and I were in school where the maths teacher would say, well, you know, you got to do this in your head or on the paper because you're not going to have a phone, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket when you're older.
So I'm just trying to get the figures right. So 2.1 million times by 50 grand. So that is it 105 billion?
Feels about right.
Am I completely off? Anyway, Gaz can correct us in the show notes and just say those two idiots got it wrong.
Flash something on the screen.
Flash, idiot 1, idiot 2. It's actually idiot this.
Idiot 2.
So, you know, to buy that kind of stake would be astronomical. Obviously, it pump the value up quite a bit. And I do have mixed opinion on this because it's someone like that getting involved from the old school.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'll be trying to own it because they look at this and just think this is taking over.
It would be 60 trillion, by the way.
Oh God. So are they trying to buy into it so that they can shut it down? So I'm very mixed. It says they've been looking at buying since 2018. Why didn't we pull the trigger then? It would have been on discount.
Yeah, definitely. If they were to buy if they were to buy 120 million at 50,000 a coin, 120,000 at 50,000 a coin, then it would be 60 trillion. Don't think that's right. 1, 2, 2, 120,000 times by your 50.
We can't even do maths with a calculator. That's what level we've hit today. People think that maths is my strong suit.
It would be 6 million. So they'd put in 6 trillion. 6 trillion. Because 9 zeros.
Yes. I mean, it's happening across like JP Morgan and various others. They are starting to go into Bitcoin, though the head of JP Morgan still stands fast that it's a pile of rubbish, but he's still offering it and buying it into investment. So, but George Soros, I kind of do look at and think this may be a bit of a bad thing, or it may be a good thing because it means it can't get cancelled. But will he just try and hoover it up one way or another by some silly taxes? But how will he do that?
Well, Soros has got his fingers in many pies, and I think, they've had a monopoly on most things throughout their entire lives. They know a few tricks of the trade, right? As Ross dies.
Oh, sorry. I told you I've got a bad cough and I've been talking far too much.
If you were watching on YouTube, Ross is just dying. Obviously, if you're on the podcast, just listening.
Muting myself just to be a bit polite for the array of noises. Yeah, I think it's one which I have to see how it plays out, because they've bought some, obviously. I don't know what the figures are. And when we do find out the figures, I think that'll be when it's interesting. And maybe that is behind the current up. And I don't think anyone wants to bet against George Soros if he's actually bought heavily into Bitcoin. But like I said, it does worry me a little bit that someone like that's starting to get into it when it's the type of person we want to get out.
What I was thinking about earlier on, actually, and they came to my mind, is the Winklevoss twins. They've been into Bitcoin and also, ETH for years, and they've got a stack double that, I think, of our friend Michael Saylor. Yeah, Mr. All-In. Yeah, and Mr. All-In as well. And
so Michael Saylor, what's he got? He's got, was it $1 billion in there?
I want to say something around, actually, that there is the figure out there that, so live update, Michael Saylor number of Bitcoin is 109,000 Bitcoin. Michael Saylor. We will spare the audience on doing the maths of 109 multiplied by 50 on that one.
The Winklevoss twins own 70,000 Bitcoins. Wow, and that was in April this year. So they're never going hungry.
There you go. Yeah. Forbes estimates they currently own 70,000. Yeah.
So it'll be a race to see who gets the most Bitcoin, where it'll be Chad Saylor.
I think that number's low because, I think that
which number
is low. The 70,000.
Well, if we do some poor maths on a calculator quickly, so 70,000 times by 50,000, we've got 3.5 billion. So that's, incredibly big stack, though not as big as Mr. All-In's.
Never.
So, yeah, I think it's one which I don't think we can really go too much into detail, but I think it's one which we need to watch while it plays out and actually find out how much has been bought, if we can actually find out. Yeah. Because it's going to go somewhere. A big stack is going to appear. It's not going to be like me or you DCAing at £50 or something. It's going to be something massive, and it's going to be a bit under the radar, or it could already be there, and it may be something which has been accumulating into several different wallets. So it's a bit out of everyone's suspicion. And kind of going off this one, there's also been Senator Loomis, not someone I'm familiar with, but I don't really know my US politics. And they've had to declare, from what I can gather, their investment, and it's in a band between 50,000 and 100,000. So people said, it's up to 100,000, so it could be a lot. My guess would be 1 Bitcoin. So they've bought one nice and clean at 50,000 or whatever it is in US dollars at the moment. But still, something really cool which has happened. So it's a sitting lawmaker. It's the biggest purchase. I think it's just one of those kind of steps forward that, hey, look, even a senator's doing it, though I'm guessing they're probably a Republican. I don't think a Democrat would.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting as well. Like, okay, so now that you're starting to get some of the politicians involved into Bitcoin, they're obviously never going to pass a law that is detrimental to themselves. But the flip side of it, what laws will they pass for it to be advantageous to themselves, to their friends, to their family, and those that are around in that circle? That's what you've got to ask.
Well, kind of, I know he's not a politician officially, but George Soros buying it, that kind of says that things are going to change.
Yeah, but people with influence.
Yeah, just don't understand how this is going to play out, and it'll be one which I think we'll see a lot more of now over the next even few weeks.
Yeah.
So certainly something which will come whilst everyone's buying. We've got a great story which you picked out about someone selling.
It's crazy, right? So theme of the show is yes, just buy Bitcoin. The second theme, or the underlying part of that, is don't sell your Bitcoin as well. And you don't want to end up selling it like somebody that bought at $300 and then sold when it went to $30,000 because they had a slight scare based on the FUD that was out around that time. So it was 7 years ago to the day when someone sold. Now, of course, we sit amass a $50,000 per coin, and somebody had 30,000. So quick maths.
1.5 billion.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Wharton.
And he sold at 9. But I think one to look at this, like you think about money, and obviously you can get billions, trillions, but 9 million, which is what he sold it for. So 30,000 Bitcoin at £300, it was 9 million. It's a retirement fund. I kind of think to myself, I would be happy on that one. And but I don't think I would sell my whole stack. I think if I could achieve 9 million for a stack, I'd probably sell half of it. And then, buy various property or whatever, just create passive income and live my life and just relax and do what I wanted. So it does seem strange that he sold it all. I think that was probably the worst thing about it. I feel like if he had a flap, he should have kept, some skin in the game.
So hyper Bitcoinization happens. Does Mr. 10% or sell it all, or do you sell 50%? Do you sell 80%? Where do you sit on this?
I mean, it depends on the value of a Bitcoin and obviously what my stack looks at the time, as long as I don't use it in any future boat accidents, such as when I'm on the Titanic 2.
With your first class ticket.
Yeah, well, it's going to be my boat.
Well, naturally. Because I'm looking forward to the time when you can lend against your crypto. That's where I'm really looking towards to get to. So, like you are, I never have to sell it or sell it all, but I can just use it as the leverage in order to get me whatever I want. It might provide liquidity to open up a fund of cash or a pot of cash, or I can use that as a deposit against buying a property, but never actually looking to sell.
I mean, it'd be sell as minimal amount as I can would be how I look at it, but it's creates something which creates a passive income. I just think that I understand probably about, I wouldn't say all of it, because I think there's all kinds of nuances, such as around nodes, which I don't understand, but I understand the majority of it. And I just feel like it could be a mistake to go against what I know, what I understand. And like this person, he had a flap, but then he bought back in 2018. So he sold in, what year was it, 2014 or something, and he bought back in 4 years later when he kind of realized he made a mistake.
Yeah.
And it had gone from somewhere
Great
between
time to buy back in 2018.
So it went from $300 to around about $5,000 to $10,000. So it either 10 to 30x, not too sure on when he bought back in. But, you know, if he bought in at the peak, so around about 10 grand or so, it could be 4x since then on his money. If he went back in with 9 million, or even if we went back in with 5, we went back in with 1 million, it's still going to be 4x on what he's done. So I suppose it was a decent return, and it allowed him probably just to bin off his life back in 2014. So I don't think it's as bad as we think, but I think it's the unforgivable that he sold the whole stack instead of just selling half, because he didn't need 9 million. 4.5 million would have been more than enough.
Yeah, 100%. Can't agree with you more. You know, like, hold some of it back, or have something that allows you to rebuy back in. So passive income that allows you to rebuy back in, and creating that feedback loop and model. I think that's definitely got to be the future.
Yeah.
What we got next?
Got wrecked of a week. So this is one by the terminology I can tell that Gaz shared. So shitcoins all down in BTC terms. So we've seen a bit of a pump on Bitcoin over the last few weeks, from 30 grand.
You gotta pump it up. You got to pump it up. You got to pump it up.
I'll leave you to do it on your own.
Thank you. Thanks.
I walk past in the office and just go. So Bitcoin's been climbing, and obviously altcoins have kind of always jump on the back of Bitcoin or other shitcoins. I know that Mr. Orlin will tell us off for using altcoins, shitcoins, climb on the back of Bitcoin and get carried along a bit. But we have seen that Bitcoin has kind of started separating itself.
Yeah, and this is the first time I think that this has really happened, to be fair, because in all honesty, whenever Bitcoin has a little bull run, everything goes up and everyone's like, oh, fantastic. But if only Bitcoin is showing in the green, it may provide people with a sense of clarity that this is where you should be putting your money. You know, I openly admit, in the era of transparency, that I own Ethereum right now. It won't be for forever. Boo. Won't be for forever. But at the same time, if it goes to zero, it won't really count.
It does disgust me.
I might buy a Rolex with it.
Which I think, you know, we discussed at the start. I just don't see the value in Ethereum. I did own some, and it kind of sat on a ledger for 3 or 4 years. And then when I properly got into Bitcoin, I just went, why the fuck have I got this? And I sold it about £600 a coin, and the transaction fee was massive. And admittedly, I could have stayed in and it would have 4x'd or something since then. Like yours.
Yeah, I won't remind you how much it might have 4x'd. Yeah.
But I just had no confidence in it after the hack and the reset the network when someone stole another's Ethereum. They reset it and put it back to the original wallet. I just went, you know, I didn't understand Ethereum when I bought it, and it just kind of sat idle in a desk drawer for quite a few years. But when I saw this, I just went, I don't see the value. It could go to zero tomorrow. Yeah. So I put it into Bitcoin, and obviously I had the same returns off it. I still had some moderate returns off that when I put that Ethereum in, but I just personally I couldn't stay in there.
Yeah.
And I don't see the value in any other shit coins or altcoins, whatever you want to call them. I've not come across one yet, which I actually go, that's good, because it just seems to be copy Bitcoin, but make a slight difference.
Yeah. I don't even take the time to have a look into any of the shit coins.
I love a bit of dink donk.
Yeah, the names are great, but the user cases aren't. Because ultimately, the minute you say it's controlled, it's centralized, and it's not decentralized, I'm like, I'm out. Why would I need to know anything else?
And quite often you're buying a concept on some of the younger shit coins, which isn't even brought into effect. So I'm looking at Dink Doink, and it's just, where's the graph?
Is it still
it's had a bit of a surge today.
Oh,
let's look it over the max. Oh god, it's pretty much flatlining, but the surge, because it's so minimal, it went from 0.0000046 to 0.00049. That was the surge today.
Wow.
So yeah, that's kind of like the rug pull. That's the fact that something you're buying on a promise. If there is a better money than Bitcoin, I'm not averse to it, but I just don't see how it happened.
Yeah.
So the thing is, coming down to the last topic, because I think we were going to talk about nodes this week, but without Mr. All in here, we don't want to make an absolute mess of a topic, because I think it's something which our listeners would probably be quite interested in learning about.
We'll definitely be coming back to nodes, and also I think that we'd like to cover more on the Lightning Network as well, because I feel like that is something that as we get closer and closer to Bitcoin hyper Bitcoinization, the likes of a Western Union, the likes of MoneyGram, that are taking large percentages off the remittance fees, and also the actual remittance fund from the person sending money back home or sending it to another person, is becoming ridiculous. And so people are cottoning onto this, using the Lightning Network, getting essentially, one for one when sending it on. So yeah, I think that definitely needs to be covered off as well.
But the Bitcoin fees to buy it, Darnell. I think the fees and the Lightning Network, it pales in significance on the remittance fees. So
yeah,
funnily enough, for work, I was on a remittance conference, and I took a picture and sent it to the group, and I went, funny thing is, Bitcoin fixes this. And I just like, should I put it into the comment? I thought, no, I can't, because I'm representing the company which I work for. So I had to leave it alone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's so true, and it's be great. So like nodes we'll definitely cover maybe next week, so I'll have another week to read through some bits, because I think I've got a few kind of like points and questions which Mr. Alling can jump in on, but I don't want to touch upon it because I think some of mine may be wrong, and I may need a bit of advice about it. And Mr. Alling runs his own node, so who better to help us?
Yeah. Again, any comments of anybody running their own node? What node they're running? Are they using the Raspberry Pi, or how have they got up and running? Love to hear.
Yeah, because there's some cool packages from looking, but it'd be great to hear. And we've only got one more topic, but it's one which is obviously current. Gaz put it in, but unfortunately can't be here. So I'm finally, Matt Odell dunks on Udi. And he memed it, so he sent us on his tweet, and both of us sat there and watched it. Went, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
so sorry.
Are we missing the NFT exit scam?
Oh, sorry, I missed that. So I kind of ruined that, because I want to leave that with like, sorry guys, we ruined your meme because we don't understand it.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah, well, we've
because we still won't understand it.
That was fantastic, Janine. They're clapping for you. And also, by the way, I don't know if you realize, if you can tell from the video stream, but Udi is like sitting right in front of me, so it was very relevant. No, you do not get a mic.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G.
Exactly.
5 minutes later, we still won't. Yeah, that 22-second clip, I could watch it again and again, and it still means nothing to me.
Though Mr. All-In was very proud of himself, I think, for it. But we have no idea what he's on about.
Yeah.
So yeah, the NFT. I just read this, and I just so not only do you buy JPEGs with a digital signature, you buy JPEGs to be in a fighting game. So pretty much, you are buying FIFA. What's it called? Was it FUT? No, Ultimate Team. So FUT cards.
Yeah.
To play on FIFA. This is literally what you're buying, but you're buying apes to fight each other. You can go and play Street Fighter or something. Yeah. I'm sure there's something called like Monkey Fight or Gorilla Fight. I'm sure someone's done with zoo animals or something. But instead, people put not EFTPs, NFTs on the proviso that they could fight each other. I just went, I don't understand this. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But the person has just completely disappeared. So it seems like they claim they were going to pay someone to an artist. They released them all. They haven't paid the artist, and they just done one with, I think it was 2.7 million, remember correctly. But people are still trading them even after all this came to light. So it's a really strange one. But I think we touch upon NFTs quite a bit, don't we?
Yeah. So I think what the background to this is that somebody created a picture of a new ape or an evil ape, then was paid and then disappeared. No ape, no NFT.
I thought we got the NFTs.
No, not on this one. I don't think, unless I'm reading the article wrong. So so a week after the project launch, the anonymous developer known as Evil Ape, who promised that game vanished along with the project's official Twitter account and website. They left traces behind on the blockchain that shows that they siphoned 2.7 million out of the project's funds in multiple transfers. The funds derived from the initial public sale of NFTs and commissions on the secondary market were meant for project-related expenses like marketing. So they made this grand, gesture and promise to the people. People put in up to the value of 2.7 million, and then gone. Shazam.
Yeah, it's just this whole NFT market. I don't understand it. It's like the flex of billionaires, which the plebs getting drawn into. And it's just like, buy yourself a Rolex or something. Buy yourself a yacht. You don't need a bloody image, which you pay 3 million for. I mean, I can draw something for you if you really want, and I'll charge you a tenner. But you probably won't want it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put it on my Twitter handle, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, is that an original Dr. Evil 10%?" Yes, it is.
It's a strange one, isn't it?
I mean,
but the evolved apes or ape NFTs seem to be the thing at the moment. Again, not something that I follow. If anybody does watch and NFTs are your thing, then hey, be our guest. Literally, come on, let us know, and I'd love to hear a bit more about it. But for me right now, there'll be JPEGs, and there'll be forevermore JPEGs.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those. It's another get rich quick kind of scheme, like a shitcoin. They're hoping it's going to be the next big thing, but I think they've just come across either a money laundering ring or a millionaire or billionaire's plaything, where they're just going, I don't care about the money. I'm just throwing it around to show that, I'm a G. But, someone who's splashing away their 10 grand or 20 grand life savings on a shitty JPEG.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Just buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Buy something which will actually keep its value. You're really guessing if you're buying NFTs. I think for next week, we've got to find a fun shitcoin. This would be great to cover another fun one like Dink Doink. It's brilliant. Maybe we should look into like Cum Rocket and actually explain what it is behind that.
Okay, I'll slowly but surely take the time to look into Cum Rocket and see if it's even worth covering off on the pod.
Yes, I think we had Dogecoin one week, and when we covered Dink Doink, which I just thought was brilliant, and I'm sure there's loads of others. Like I keep on seeing this thing at the top of Coinbase about shim. And I've got no idea what shim is, and they're saying, "Oh, we're trading shim." It's like that's nice for you.
That's
so
nice,
I've just logged in now. Shiba Inu SHIB is now traded on Coinbase, and it's a picture of a fox.
Right.
So if we have a look at it, oh, there we go, some tasty lines.
Well, yeah.
So it's had an all-time high of 0.0002 pence, and that's its all-time high.
That's not going anywhere, is it?
You can also see my portfolio balance of £18 from my lessons. So if you have got Coinbase or you haven't, join up Coinbase, get their free money, and make your own Bitcoin. You don't even have to spend for it. Just sign up, do the lessons, and learn it. Or rather, mash as many buttons as you can as quickly as possible to get through a useless tutorial on some shitcoin and convert it into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I did exactly that.
But there's been no lessons lately, have there?
No, there hasn't actually. Do you know what I did? I cashed in my lessons money and bought a bike pump.
I think I moved across most of mine into my stack. So I think I've earned, somewhere like 50, 60 quid so far.
Yeah.
So decent bike pump.
I got a decent bike pump which I've put on, and it's actually it's got caught up in the whole the product cycle of things being pushed back, because on certain websites it's not available until mid to late February 2022.
Your bike pump?
Yeah. So the whole COVID and everything else, a bike pump is now not available until 2022.
Have you got yours yet?
Oh, I've got mine, yeah. Did have to wait a couple of weeks for it, but I've got it.
Fair enough. I suppose that's probably once again going back to some recommendations. Just get on the lessons. I think there's free ones on various different exchanges, but Coinbase is who we use, and free money. It literally takes, I think you get a few quid, 3 to 5 quid per set of lessons, and you can just guess the answers, or you can listen to the tutorial if you really want to be drawn into some shitcoin, get some free stuff. And both of us have made a decent amount of money off minimal work, so why not? I think that's about it. Have we got anything else which you want to cover while we're here?
I don't think we do, no. This is the world's most bullish podcast. This has been week 26. We're halfway there. We've nearly done a consistent year, whether it's me, you, Mr. All In, or she was here, she wasn't here, Mrs. No Show. But we have brought you the news of the Bitcoin world and finance in general. That's our job, to bring you entertainment, education, and a little bit of banter along the way. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got Yeah. Fellow plebs, if you want to hear us, then yeah, tune in.